Hi there, welcome to just a quick video to discuss my user interface, because I've had a couple of comments about what add-ons I use. So I just wanted to discuss that for a couple of minutes, run through all the add-ons that I use. So let's start off and actually have a look at the list of add-ons I've got. I'm using an add-on straight off the bat called Add-on Control Panel. This allows you to select your add-ons in-game and change them. You can also set up like custom sets of add-ons. Maybe you want to disable a load easily or turn a load back on easily. That's pretty good for that. Okay, so now one thing you'll notice is my list of add-ons is ridiculously long. I tend not to delete an add-on if I don't use it anymore. I don't know why, probably just out of laziness. But I use the curse add-on tool to update, and also WoW Matrix. I know WoW Interface does have its own updating tool, but it never works for me. It always fails to update. Alright, so let's go through a list of these updates that I'm actually using for Chunky Town. So Atlas Loot is, I don't know, it's not that important anymore since 4.2, because you can find out the loot from all the current tier bosses. But what Atlas Loot does is you can browse through all of the different instances, and this will go all the way back to Classic WoW if you've got the correct add-ons installed. But you can look at like Firelands and see all the different loot that's available. It's pretty nice. Personally, I still prefer it to the looking through the dungeon journal. So yeah, that's pretty nice. It'll show you things like for Firelands, you might want to know what trash can drop, or what you can get off in terms of patterns. So yeah, there's loads of stuff like that. PvP rewards, faction gear, whatnot. You'll probably see us use this for looking up faction loot when we start leveling through Cataclysm. Okay, so that's Atlas Loot. You've probably not seen me use that yet, but there it is. Auctioneer is almost a must if you're planning on buying or selling anything off the auction house. It's just fantastic. So the primary reason for using Auctioneer is it will scan the auction house every time you go, or every time you tell it to when you visit the auction house, and it will build up average prices for things. It can even build up kind of like cycles of average prices. So for example, on a raid night, raid mats are probably more expensive than on non-common raid nights. But primarily it's good to just build up an average price list, so we can see a ridiculous amount of information for copper ore, but it's showing you stuff like the simple auction prices, or just even the market price of 10 gold for a stack of 20, stuff like that. Now also, when you go to sell things, it will autofill the prices in for the things you're selling based on what the average prices are. So it's good to make sure that it's good to help you not spend too much, and make sure that if you're putting stuff in the auction house, you're going to get a good price for it. So that's that. Got a lot to get through. Auto bar, simple. It's this thing at the top. It does a lot more than I'm using it for, but basically it will put in all the different kinds of food you're using, and a couple of other professions and bandages and stuff like that. It's just to save me having to go through my bags to find out what the best food is or whatnot. Baggins is my bag add-on. Now there's so many bag add-ons out there, and they're all really great. I like Baggins because it kind of sorts things out into like quest items and consumables and whatnot. It's personal preference. You could use whatever bag add-on you like there. I just happen to like that one. Okay. So I've tried using Bagnon, didn't like it. Bigwigs and also Deadly boss mods do exactly the same thing. If you raid a lot, you will know what those are. They tell you when bad things are going to happen on boss encounters. Other boss mods are available. I happen to just use both of them actually, because for some fights one is better than the other, and vice versa. Bug grabber, bug sack. If you do any kind of UE customization, you will know these add-ons, or maybe something very similar. It just stops you being presented with LUA errors all the time, and it does happen, and it's irrelevant whether you see them or not, because it doesn't stop the game from working for the most part. Button facade changes the look of the buttons in the action bar. There's a number of different kind of textures you can put on them. I think I've just got like the no textures, I think, on that one. But yeah, that's nice if you want to get rid of that look of the default WoW interface. Chatter is my chat add-on. Again, very popular. Most people have probably come across this. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't even use the normal chat add-on anymore, so I don't even know how it's different from that. So I probably don't even need to use that. Chinchilla is the mini-map, or massive map as I've got it, but it does quite a few other things as well. So I mean, again, there's a lot of mini-map add-ons that will do similar things, you know, like make it square or allow you to move it into a different position on the screen. Chinchilla minimap is quite good because it allows me to configure a lot of the things that are kind of hooked to the default minimap in WoW. So, for example, all of the buttons, the default buttons, I've turned a lot of these off. I don't care. I mean, I know north is up, right? Don't really care about that. Don't care for mail because I've got an add-on down there that does it, and that kind of thing. And it can also change the location of like where your buffs go and your quest tracker, and if you raid, where the boss frames go, stuff like that. It's pretty good for that. It's nice and simple to configure as well, so I think it's very easy to become overwhelmed with add-ons and their complexity when you're doing this stuff, and it's nice for a while, but then when a patch comes out, it's an absolute bitch to get all of this stuff updated, so I try and keep it nice and simple. Okay, Cromulent. I think they're adding this into 4.3 or something very similar. So Cromulent is good if you want to just look at this zone information. So it'll tell you what instances there are, it'll tell you the level ranges, it'll I think it used to tell you, maybe I've got that turned off, but it used to tell you the skill levels for like fishing and stuff like that as well. Yeah, I think, like I said, I think that's being added in 4.3, at least where it's got Dragon Blight 71 to 74, that's been added into the default user interface, so maybe I won't need to use that anymore. Dominoes is my action bar, so it's a replacement for my action bar. It's fairly configurable, so let's have a quick look at that. Oh, I can't move that window. Configure bars. So these are all my bars, and you can. Let's see, I don't use 4. I don't know if I don't really want to play about with them, but you can change all the size of the buttons and the spacing and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty good. You can do some good stuff with it. You could put a massive button in the center of the screen if you want for that, if that's your, you know, your win macro, for example. I'll just mention this one because this one's quite good. If you're going for Lore Master, every quest is fantastic. That will tell you per zone which quests you've not done. So that's amazing. That was really helpful when I was going for Lore Master on my main character. Factionizer, you wouldn't have seen this, but it will show you if you click on a faction what you would need to do to get the faction, to get the reputation to the next level. Again, really good if you're going for particular factions, or maybe achievements for particular factions. It's quite good for that. Again, there's probably other add-ons that do exactly the same thing as that. What else have we got? Go Mount. It probably won't get a lot of use out of it on this character because I don't have many mounts, but it will pick a random mount for you each time. I've only got, I think, 3 different flying mounts anyway. But it'll pick a different one. If you're in an area that you can't fly, it will pick a ground mount for you as well. So it's quite nice. And the same for Go Pet, exactly the same. It will just spawn a random pet. ID card is one of these I don't actually know what it does. So we'll just leave that one for now. KG panels is it's the thing that allows me to draw boxes on my screen. So I mean, I could turn KG panels off, but then the action bars become a little bit harder to see. So I guess that's purely, it's not a very nice aesthetic, I know, but for me it makes it a lot easier to see the user interface. Light-headed, I don't even use in this character that much, but it is very useful if you're doing a lot of questing. What it does is it pulls user comments from Wowhead for quests and adds them as an extra bar into your quest log. So not that important these days because you've got the map that'll tell you where you need to go for a quest. But for some quests, it's still fairly, people don't read quest text for the most part, so that's quite useful if you're genuinely stuck on a quest. Again, useful if you're going after Lawmaster. What is Mask? Oh, Mask is I think it's the thing that shades the action buttons based on whether you've got mana or whether you're in range or not. I think it was recently changed from Clique, and I can't remember what Clique did either. Ignore that. Oglow is such a simple add-on, but it's very useful. It colours items in your character sheet or in your bag. It colours them based on their rarity. So I've recently started leveling a character, and I tried to do it with the default user interface, and I had to put 2 add-ons on, and this was one of them, Oglow, because it was just, I don't know how that's not in the game by default. That's just ridiculous. Okay, so OmniCC, cooldown for everything. Don't know what that does. It came as part of an add-on pack, and I think something stopped working when I didn't have it enabled, so it's still on there. Lol. Postal, the best post add-on. End of. If you're doing a lot of posting on the auction house, you need that. Parallels Classic, don't use that on this character. So I'll skip over that. Quartz is your cast bar replacement. Very configurable. So yeah, if you don't like the default cast bar, that's very good. Reforged Light is amazing, in my opinion. I use this all the time on my Hunter and my Shadow Priest. If you've used wowreforged.com to reforge or to come up with optimal reforging for your character, then that is amazing. What Reforged Light does is it will actually put it in game, so you don't even have to do anything. You just put in the values of stats that you're after. For example, if you're looking at going for the hit cap, you put in that you want to go for the hit cap, and it will work out the most efficient way to do that for you. And then it will reforge everything for you as well, so that's really good. Shadowed unit frames. This is the thing that configures my unit frames, funnily enough. Again, another really configurable add-on. I've just put it to basic minimum settings and made it look really basic. You can do a lot with that. It's a really good unit frames add-on, and lightweight as well. I think that's a good thing. There's a lot out there that I've used in the past, and they're very difficult to configure, and they use up quite a lot of memory, and then come patch day they always break. Since using shadowed unit frames, I've not had a single patch day where they haven't worked. And in fact, on patch day I'm normally the first person in our guild on with this interface, because everything is either very simple or default. Okay, add-ons. What else? SCADA. As far as I'm aware, there's 2 add-ons that are good for like measuring your DPS or threat per second or healing per second. SCADA and Recount. It's personal preference which one you use. I prefer SCADA because I can make it look a bit more consistent with my interface. Recount does a lot more, so if you want to, for example, look at how much healing per second your raid has got, then Recount can do that, SCADA can't. SCADA, a lot of people use SCADA because it used to be the only way you could measure the absorbs of a Shadow Priest and compare it against the healing of a Druid, for example. So I think that's the thing that got SCADA popular. It's not the case anymore. But one thing SCADA does do that I don't think Recount does is it also does threat. So a lot of people use Omen for threat. I use SCADA for replacing Omen and Recount. So you can have multiple windows for SCADA. It's great, I like it, very good. SL data, SL stats, SL timex, they're these things in the bottom corner. Again, it's just a simple little set of add-ons for displaying important information. Smart buff, I don't actually use on this character, but if you play a class that does a lot of buffing, so actually it'd be ideal for a paladin, but I use it quite a lot on my Shadow Priest. It's pretty good because you can set up a list of buffs that you want to apply to yourself or your party or your raid, and if it ever sees that somebody doesn't have that buff, it will tell you, and you can easily get Smart Buff to reapply that buff for you. For example, you can assign it to your wheel mouse. So when you join a raid, all you have to do to buff people is just move your wheel mouse up and down a few times, and it's done. So that's great. It's good as well if you're in combat, if you're in a raid and somebody dies, they're battle resed, and then you need to apply that buff. You don't really want to be faffing about trying to find the spell on your action bar or in your spell book, especially if you're healing. So just a quick up down on the wheel mouse and it does it for you. Brilliant. Text loot, you have probably seen that used a lot. It's a replacement for need, greed, rolling for loot in the middle. Simple. All of Tech's add-ons are, it does a lot of really good lightweight add-ons that do simple things, but once you're used to using them you can't live without them. Tiny Tip is the replacement for my the tooltip on my mouse, so just to have it follow my mouse around. I can't stand it when it's in the bottom corner here because I have to keep looking down there. It infuriates me, that does. Tuller range is the thing that tells your action bar when like a ranged base spell, you're out of range of the target. Very simple. I use it more on my hunter than on my paladin. Vendor bait, I think I've discussed this previously in one of the videos, but if you're handing a quest in and there's a lot of different quest rewards, it will highlight the one that's worth the most. Very simple, it's quite a good little time saver. Visual themes is, I don't think it's working at the minute. Yeah, it's the thing that does the sliding in and out of that window as opposed to just appearing like that. Pointless, but there you go. And the last one is Zomg buffs. There's loads of different add-ons that do a very similar thing to this. This is a bit like Pally Power. This is how I originally came across it. But if you're in a party of people, it will show you all of the party buffs that they're missing, like well-fed, flasks, kings or equivalent, stuff like that. So it's quite a good way of seeing if people are missing buffs that you don't necessarily give them. There are other add-ons that do similar things. Okay, so there's a couple of other points I wanted to bring up about my UI that are quite interesting. So things that you probably wouldn't normally think about when picking interface add-ons. One of them was one that I completely skipped over in my add-on list, which was Doctor Damage, which does in-game theory crafting. Very important if you're a damage dealer, to know which of your abilities is doing the most damage, which is the most efficient. You should probably have a good idea anyway, but it's always nice to see that you know, what is actually being the most effective one. So what it will do is that when you hover over a damage dealing effect, it gives you a ridiculous amount of information about that particular ability and all the different stats that affect it, and the DPS and the damage per mana, I think that is, the DPM. Lots of stuff like that. It's quite interesting to keep an eye on that stuff. Yes, that's Doctor Damage, handy. The other one was in Dominoes, so it's my action bar add-on. Now, again, I mentioned I was trying to level up a character without using any add-ons, and I added 2. Actually, one of them wasn't Dominoes; it was the mouse tooltip and Oglow. But one of the things that really infuriates me about the normal vanilla version of the game is key bindings, because it's very difficult to change your key binding. So when you add in another action bar, you want to, let's say, you know, change that one there that doesn't have a key binding, you want to put that on there, you've got to scroll through this list, and this list is huge. You know, so you're just going through that the whole time, just going, oh, where's the thing I need to change, and it takes too long. So one of the things Dominoes does is it simplifies the whole method of binding your keys. So you click the bind keys button, you hover over the thing you want to change the key binding on, and then you press the key that you want. So Shift U, and that binds that to Shift U. Simple as that. Absolutely fantastic. Should be in the game by default. I think a few other action bars have got this same functionality in it. Rift has that functionality in it because it's so good. Blizzard, please add it. So yeah, that's the list of my add-ons. It's probably taken much longer than it needed to. But yeah, I built it myself. I got pissed off with patch day every day breaking an add-on pack that I was using previously, and also it was a right mess, so I've tried to make it quite simplistic. I'm actually thinking about simplifying it even more and putting all of my action bars under here, so I can have this text here and just minimize it a whole lot more. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so there you go. Right, well, I'll see you next time, hopefully, and I'll probably put links to all of these add-ons in the video description, because otherwise, if there's any that people want, it's going to take them a very long time to go and Google through them all. See you around.